Alice and Jack live in a typical American town. They spend time with friends, have fun, drive around, and love each other. One day, Alice is getting ready for a party with friends while their husband goes to work along with many other white-collar men. A female voice announces that today is day 997. All employees are on their way to headquarters, and all residents are safe and accounted for. Ladies are wished a pleasant day, and Alice begins her household chores. After that, she goes to dance classes like all the proper wives in town. The instructor Shelley reminds them that beauty lies in control, and grace lies in symmetry. After class, Alice returns home. She chats with her neighbor Bunny, who constantly scolds her children, then goes to take down the dried laundry. A repetitive melody keeps playing in Alice's head, and she hums along to it. Suddenly, Alice notices another neighbor, Margaret. She stands in front of her house, staring into nothing and completely detached from the world around her. Alice starts cooking. One egg makes her suspicious, so she squeezes it in her hand and realizes it is empty. She crushes the others, but there is nothing inside the shells. She is distracted by meat burning on the stove. In the evening, she meets her husband. She is dressed nicely, her hair is done, and the table is set. However, Jack decides to start the night with something more pleasant. The next day, the women relax by the pool. Alice gets distracted as the song plays in her head again, making her uneasy. Then strange images appear, a circle of women wearing wigs. Later, Alice approaches a model of the town and mindlessly runs her finger along the streets. When she reaches the edge of the settlement, Bunny interrupts her and reminds her it is time for cocktails. The men are chatting nearby and everything looks proper, sunny, and calm. A signal sounds and Shelley welcomes the new residents. She says she is happy the couple can learn from her husband Frank, who created something extraordinary, a new world. Her speech is interrupted by Margaret, who claims that she and her husband should not be here. Margaret's husband quickly drags her away and Frank apologizes to the guests. He says the couple is going through a difficult period. Their task is to follow their dream and resist chaos, the main enemy of progress. He says they are changing the world. The guests repeat Frank's words, saying everyone here is happy and that they are one family. Frank thanks Jack for supporting the husbands and says the wives are their foundation. The celebration continues. Alice goes looking for Jack but finds Margaret instead. Margaret says she has nightmares and that she cannot be here. Her husband abruptly closes the curtain in front of Alice. Alice finds Jack at home. He kisses her and the couple retreats together. At the most intimate moment, Alice suddenly sees Frank smiling and watching them. Later, the women gather at the shopping center. They discuss their perfect lives and poor Margaret. Alice feels sorry for her and does not believe Margaret is entirely to blame. After all, she led her son into the desert and was found, but without the child. The women talk about the men's work, though no one really knows what they do. Some say they make weapons. Bunny interrupts and says it is not their business. Women have work too, creating comfort. That night, Alice has a nightmare, but in the morning, everything repeats. She sees Jack off to work, does the housework, and then goes for a ride. Alice stays on the trolley alone and says she just wants to ride. Suddenly, she sees a plane flying toward the mountains and crashing. Alice screams at the driver, asking him to help, but he does not understand and cannot leave the route. Alice jumps off the trolley and runs toward the mountains. She walks through the desert for a long time. Eventually, she reaches a road and climbs a high hill. At the top, she stops in front of a mirrored surface. There is no one around, only her reflection. Alice touches the glass and loses consciousness. Darkness surrounds her as a circle of dancing women appears, and a male voice demands order, saying people must allow themselves to know how life should be. Alice wakes up in her bed. In the kitchen, she sees Jack cooking dinner, but the kitchen is a mess and the food is spoiled. Alice does not understand what happened. Jack explains that when he came home, she was already asleep and says she returned by trolley. Alice insists the driver came back for her, and Jack looks at her with confusion. Alice decides it was all a dream. The next morning, everything seems normal again. She cleans the window, but suddenly the glass seems to move and presses her against the wall. She cannot breathe. The phone rings and Alice is suddenly free. Margaret's voice on the phone tells her to get out and says she was there and saw everything herself. Alice sees the dancing women again, but now it is her and her friends. Instead of her reflection, Margaret appears on the other side of the mirror and begins smashing her head against the glass. Alice screams and comes to. She runs home and sees Margaret on the roof. Margaret turns toward her, slits her own throat, and falls, while Alice screams in horror. Staff members rush in, carry Alice away, and remove Margaret's body. That evening, Alice tries to explain everything to Jack, but he does not believe her. Margaret is in the hospital and supposedly cut herself by accident while cleaning windows. Alice feels guilty because Margaret asked for help. Alice asks Jack what is really going on and what he does in the project. Jack says he is not allowed to talk about it and tells her to stop the hysterics because she could ruin everything. A doctor visits Alice and suggests medication, but Jack refuses, saying they will handle it themselves. The doctor assures them Margaret will recover and leaves his briefcase behind. Alice secretly pulls out Margaret's file and sees that everything inside is blacked out. She burns the folder. Alice drinks alcohol and sees the dancing women again. She finds herself in the bathtub, while Jack is annoyed because they are late. He brings her a dress and asks her to think about having a baby. That evening, they attend a formal dinner where all the town's residents are present. A performance begins as beautiful blondes dance. Alice sees the circle again and Margaret killing herself. Frank gives a speech and invites Jack to the stage. Jack is welcomed into the High Council and Frank gives him a ring of loyalty. The crowd applauds as Jack performs a celebratory dance. Alice cannot watch and runs to the bathroom. She sees visions of a different Jack, one who lost his job, and Bunny finds her. Alice tries to explain, but Bunny shuts her down and says Alice was at headquarters and is acting like a spoiled child. Her job is to support her husband, and she is ruining his career just like Margaret did. Alice returns to the hall, watches Jack's triumph. The next morning, Jack reminds her they will have guests and must thank Frank. Alice greets the guests with a smile and everything appears perfect. Frank enters the kitchen while Alice finishes the appetizers and speaks to her calmly. From this moment, the story contains spoilers. If you plan to watch the movie, this is the point to start from. Now, let's continue. He says it is a shame Bunny did not believe Margaret, and that he waited a long time for someone to challenge him. The guests sit down and Alice deliberately takes the host's seat while Jack obeys and sits beside her. The conversation is meaningless until Alice suddenly asks why all the women come from the same 1 or 2 states and vacation in the same places. Jack tries to stop her, but Alice continues. She says they all met their husbands on trains under identical circumstances. The stories are the same because they are told what to remember, but sometimes they recall what is forbidden. Frank accuses Alice of a breakdown and asks why she was not treated and why she was at headquarters. Jack is horrified as Frank claims Alice broke the rules and that this is psychosis, but she opened herself to him. Alice freezes at his lies, but Jack believes Frank completely. Alice tries to appeal to common sense and asks where the products come from and what is in them. Shelley stands up and says she will not allow her husband to be insulted. The guests leave and Frank is disappointed because he expected something more interesting. After everyone leaves, Alice begs Jack to leave with her anywhere together. Jack agrees and they get into the car. Suddenly, Jack changes. Alice is dragged out of the car by staff members and taken into darkness. Alice wakes up on an operating table as visions flash. A doctor leans over her and she recognizes herself. Dr. Alice finishes surgery and goes home to find her unemployed husband there, with no dinner and no hot water. She is exhausted after working 30 hours straight and refuses intimacy. Her husband sits at monitors as an advertisement for a new simulation plays, showing sunlight and the perfect town. Alice wakes up back in victory. Bunny greets her cheerfully and Alice hugs her children while missing Bunny's anxious look. Jack leaves for work as Alice does chores, dances, swims, and meets Jack again. She takes the roast out of the oven while Jack chooses a record and hums a tune. Hearing the tune, Alice wakes up. Jack walks through a dark city as his physical stats are listed, showing he is fully fit for the project. In reality, Alice lies restrained in bed and covered in wires. Jack maintains her body and must work every day in the real world to pay for the simulation. Jack lies beside her, humming the same tune. And Alice realizes the truth. He stole her real life and did it to save her from endless work. Frank created this world so they could live as they wanted, and Jack works tirelessly for it. But the others are prisoners. Jack hugs Alice and she hits him on the head. Bunny finds her and Jack is dead. Bunny admits she knows about the simulation and chose this life to be with her children, while the other women know nothing. Alice must run or she will be killed. She escapes, drives into the desert, and is chased by cars. She causes a crash, killing the doctor. Frank orders Alice to be stopped at all costs, but Shelley stabs Frank, saying he failed everything. Alice runs toward the mountain as the car stalls, and she continues on foot. The dome is ahead. As her pursuers close in, hands touch her shoulders. Jack begs her not to leave. Shelley reaches out. There is a blow, and then darkness. Visions of a perfect life and victory appear, followed by a sharp breath as Alice wakes up in the real world. Many would choose to escape into a simulation and run from everyday problems. But can you truly make someone happy by force? This is a story where it is hard to take a side. The husband took his wife's reality away with good intentions to make her happy.